guys, this is That Movie Nerd here, and I'm here with Deedee Magno Hall, who is the voice of Pearl on Steven Universe, and I think everyone knows I'm a huge fan of Steven Universe, and she graciously has let us ask her a few questions today, so thank you very much for doing so.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me, Kevin. Hi. You want me to hold it, or would you like me to hold it? Oh, okay, okay.
This is different.
Who's interviewing who?
And my first question is, and this is what's interested me most about Steven Universe. Why do you think Steven Universe appeals to both children and adults? Because it has such a big audience in both age groups. What about the show do you think really causes that?
Well, for me personally, I get to enjoy this show watching it with my kids. I have a 6-year-old son and a 13-year-old son. Bryson's right there, our 6-year-old. But I think that this show is, first of all, is beautiful to look at. The artwork is just gorgeous. The background art, the music alone is something that I think a lot of fans gravitate to. There's a character in the show for everybody. I mean, like, everybody can relate to at least one character in the show, which I think is why I think a lot of people can relate, regardless of age, gender. You know, I think that because it's a show, for me, I think it's a show about love for everyone. Also, it's funny and it can get really serious at times, teaching some maybe difficult lessons. You know, I can watch the show with my kids and they can get a completely different message than what I get from it. And, you know, I just think that because we can sit down as a family and enjoy everything about the show is one of the reasons why it's so successful, that it's not just for one age demographic, but it's a show that everybody can enjoy. And I have to say, though, that the music is something that I just love. My kids know all the words. They know more of the words than I do. But he wants to sing. But yeah, so I think that it's reaching so many people in such a beautiful, positive way. And also, from what I've heard, it's a show that a lot of people wish they had growing up. So there you have it. Rebecca Sugar's a genius.
She definitely is. I'll lead into another question I had. What aspects of Pearl specifically do you admire most, and what aspects do you hope people get out of Pearl most?
You know, I have doing some conventions all over, and I haven't done so many, but the ones that I have, I get a lot of salty bird mom comments. And I'm like, what does that mean, really? And I guess maybe Pearl can be salty sometimes, but I think that when it comes to her nurturing side and wanting to take care of Steven, that's where I can really relate to that character, because I am a mom in real life, and I basically just have to interchange Steven or my kids' names, and I pretty much sound the same. I mean, my kids, when we first started watching it, my youngest, who's now 6, was 2 years old at the time, and I remember watching the show with him and him looking back and forth at the television and then looking at me, hearing my voice, which is just really, Pearl is an exaggerated version of my own voice. So, like, he listens to the voice and he's like, that sounds like mommy. So, like, I love that I can have that sort of connection that I bring to the character. But I think when I actually got salt packets at a convention, like, because I'm like, I'm bringing you a gift, and then they gave me salt packets. And then when we were at KawaiiCon in Hawaii, I got soy sauce packets for being salty bird mom, which I think is hilarious. But then I'm like, salty, does that mean Like mean? Does it mean like? Because I don't completely understand. Do you know?
I think what they mean, and this is just coming from like my friend's appreciation of Pearl, is that you were very sarcastic and very like got it. When you see a situation, you're just like, well, here's the truth of the situation. That's it.
I see. No sugarcoating. Right. Well, that's all to do with the writing. I'm simply just reading the words on the page. So, but yeah, I guess she can be salty then. But she's also very sincere, and what I love about Pearl is that she's absolutely relatable to a lot of people. Like they're like, she's so perfect, but she's far from perfect. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's what I've coined that. Just remember that.
What is a recording session like? Do you record alone, or do you record with a group with Michaela Dietz and Estelle, or is it a solo venture?
It really depends on the script. So if it's Pearl heavy, then I'll record by myself. When we first started, Estelle was she was sort of doing her phone records because she was living in New York, and same with Tom Sharpling, who voices Greg. So Michaela, Zach, and I were based in California, so as often as we can do a recording together, we do. Then I went on tour with If Then, and that made it more difficult for me to get to the recordings. But then I would record via phone. But typically, if we're all in California, and Estelle has moved back, so like we've been seeing Estelle more and more, so that's fun. But yeah, so whenever we can do group records, I just think that's so much better, just because we can feed off of each other's energy, and oftentimes we do these things called efforts, which is sort of a reaction to or jumping noises or fighting noises and things like that. And so often that we'll go down the line. So Michaela will go first, then I'll go second, and then Zach will go third, and then Estelle. And it's kind of a show in itself. But I kind of wish that we were videotaping that. But yeah, those are really fun. So it really depends on the script.
What is your favorite episode of Steven Universe, or if it's not the same thing, what was the best episode to record?
Well, I always say my go-to is Steven and the Stevens, because I love the song that he sings, and then we all get to sing at the end of that song. But I love it because it reminds me of oh gosh, That Thing You Do with Tom Hanks. Yes. Do you remember? So that boy band. I love that song, and it reminds me of that movie. But to record, I'd have to say Mr. Greg. That was my favorite song to record for Pearl, and I love all of the songs. The Here Comes a Thought is one of my favorites too, and Love Like You, the credits, sung by the one and only Rebecca Sugar. I love her voice, and I love her style of music, and the fact that she has written so many different kinds of styles of music for just this one show alone I just think is so brilliant. And like I said, there's something for everybody. And can you tell I'm a fan of the show?
Absolutely can tell. So I wanted to. Very recently, we got some revelations about Rose Quartz and Pearl, and I'm not sure how much.
How so? What are you talking about?
The revelation that Rose Quartz was actually spoilers. Pink Diamond, and that Pearl was known all along. I was curious, how much of that did you know when you started recording, like in the beginning? How much did Rebecca Sugar lead on or let you know when the show started versus now?
Okay, so I may or may not have heard some of the developmental things that happen with Pearl and her character, because I have mommy brain. I think I blame it on mommy brain. So if Rebecca had shared with me some stories prior to, like way before, I may have forgotten. And I was just telling some folks that that I receive the script 2 days. Typically, I receive it 2 days before I record. So I'll get a script on Monday, and I'll read through it until Wednesday I start recording. And so I will read my bits because I want to be more familiar with my part, obviously. And depending on how much time I have with, mommy stuff, I will read the whole script. And so when I read the spoiler, I was reading it sort of out of context. And so when I watched it finally with my kids, with my family, I was like, oh, that's why. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's really, oh, wow. So I was reacting to it as real as possible. I'm like, that's just a natural, my real natural reaction to what happened. So, like I said, if I knew about it, I forgot. I'm a perfect person to tell secrets to. But yeah, it was just as a surprise to me as it was to a lot of people.
Well, thank you so much for giving some of your time to answer these questions. It really means a lot to me, and it leaves a lot to people watching.
Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Keep watching Steven Universe, Cartoon Network.
Absolutely. And, with that, it's That Movie Nerd and Deedee Magno Hall signing off.
Signing off.